Hello friends and welcome back to the channel. I am super excited today because today I'm starting a brand new custom build series of the T-800 from Agora Models. Now before we get started, if this is your first time tuning into the channel, welcome and thanks for stopping by. And while you're here, if you wouldn't mind clicking that subscribe button down below, it helps me out, it helps the channel out, and I would really appreciate it. And to all of my current subscribers out there, I can't tell you enough, thank you so much for all of your support. I really appreciate every one of you. All right, this is one I've really been looking forward to do, and I'm excited to finally get it on the bench. A big thank you to my friends at Agora Models for sending this kit into the channel for review. And if you want to get one of these for yourself, there's a QR code on the screen and a link down in the description to the Agora website. Now, before we get started turning screws, let's talk a little bit about where this kit came from. This kit was originally released by Hachette Partworks back in 2019, and at the time, it was only available in the UK and parts of Europe. Agora later partnered with Hachette in 2020 to bring the T-800 model to the US for the very first time. After the initial run sold out, they went back into production and made some improvements, especially to the finger components, giving them a better fit and more stable articulation. Now, I have watched a lot of other builds on YouTube of this model, and there are some incredible builds out there by some very talented builders. But the more I studied them, the more I realized I really didn't want to follow that exact same path. So this series isn't going to be a straight step-by-step, pack-by-pack build. Instead, I'm going to approach this build in a more deliberate way. I'll be working on a custom power solution, upgrading certain details, and sometimes building sections out of order, not to skip anything, but to make the final result cleaner, more practical, and a little more unique. And don't worry, I'm still going to cover every part of this build. I may not show every single step of every single pack since some of them repeat, but I will cover any challenges, modifications, and any decisions that I make along the way, because this series isn't about rushing to the finish line. It's about the process, the problem solving, and watching a pile of parts slowly turn into something that feels like it could step right off the movie screen. So with that said, let's bring the machine online and get to the build. Okay, friends, now I had pack 1 up on the bench before, but now it's gone. And that is because, like I said, I am not going in the order that you normally would build this kit in. Now I have my reasons. This is actually the pack 28 box, comes with a couple pieces of the base and a bunch of other parts. It also comes with all of our LEDs for the spotlights and a couple of the spotlights themselves. So just like it is with any project, you got to start off with a strong base. So I am actually starting on the base of this T-800 kit. Now I do have my reasons, and please hear me out. The real reason I am starting with the base is because I am going to do my own power modification for this kit. Now there is a power mod available out there that lots of people have used, and one thing that I've noticed is they always do it after the kit is built. Well, I don't want to do that. I want to build mine as I'm building the kit. Also, I'm going to do mine differently. I'm going to do mine in a way where, one, the wires are not exposed. They're going to be hidden in the base, but also up the back through the pedestal that holds the Terminator onto the base. And also, I am not going to have it so that the Terminator is actually permanently attached to the base. I'm going to do it in a way where I can actually easily disconnect the T-800 from the base, move them around, repose them, put them back on. So that's why I need to start off with the base so I can get my initial power modifications kind of figured out and worked out so that I can provide that power up the back and to the skull of the Terminator. So like I said, this is actually pack 28. I'm going to get the rest of the base from the other packs, and then I'm going to assemble the base as one unit. However, even though During that phase, you're going to be installing these and adding a bunch of accessories to the base. I'm not doing that yet. I am just going to assemble the base so I know where all my wiring can go and where I can have attachment points for the electronics that I'm going to put in here. As for these spotlights, they come just black, but I don't like them in black. They just look like they stand out. So I am going to actually build these individually. And then before I put the innards in, I'm going to paint and detail the housings. Then I'll take them apart, put the insides in, the lenses in, and then we can mount them to the base, because these can all be mounted after the base is built. As for the other details on the base, actually, I kind of like how they did the base. To me, it looks really good. I am going to do some modifications to the color and add some more textures to the base just to make it a little more, give it a little more depth, a little more distinctiveness, and just put my own spin on it. But for the most part, I'm going to stay pretty close to how they have it. As for parts like the skull, I think they did a really good job on it. It looks really nice, and I know that they were going for that kind of burned, charred, post-apocalyptic look, and I think they nailed it. I am going to add just a fewer details just to kind of bring out some more skull texture to it, more skull coloring to it. Also, I'm going to use some washes to kind of highlight some of these details in here. And same with everything else on the base. I'm just going to enhance it. All right, so I am going to get my parts together to build the base, and we are going to build this base. Okay, so here I have all 4 sections of the base laid out, and now we're going to attach these to each other. And we're going to do that using several, we're going to use 4 of these little H-shaped or I-shaped, depending on how you hold it, metal brackets or flanges, and those are going to connect on the back, and we're going to be using some of these black 2x4mm screws, and these are flange screws. They've got a large, like a washer built into the top of them. So we're going to turn these all over and attach all those and make our base one piece. Okay, so I've got my 4 pieces of the base. They're turned upside down so we can attach these brackets. I'm going to do this one right here first. So basically you want to hold the parts together, and you can see where the bracket goes right there. I'm actually going to grab a piece of tape, maybe a couple pieces of tape, just to hold these together. So I'm just holding these together with a piece of tape because these obviously they're not flat on the other side. So that way it'll kind of help hold it still. We're going to take our first bracket here. We're going to set it in place. Now, those posts should fit just inside the holes on that bracket. And we'll take our first flange screw and we'll get it started right here. And we'll get our other one started, just kind of kitty corner across from that first one. All right, all those are in and tight, and that's the first bracket on the base. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, for the next one, I think it's going to be easier to get the bracket started on one side first, so that's what I'm going to do. All right, now we'll bring the rest of the base over. Yeah, there we go. Now I only have to hold one side of that. All right, let's get our first screw in on this side. There we go. And yeah, that actually worked really well, putting it on the side, the loose side first. All right, moving on. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-assemble my spotlights here. I am not going to put the LEDs and lenses in because I want to paint these, and that way I don't have to worry about masking the lenses off or getting paint on them. So basically, I'm just temporarily assembling these empty, and instead of using all 4 screws, I'm just going to use 2 in each to hold them in place, and that way I can get them to the paint booth, get them all painted up, and then I will unassemble them and then put the LEDs and stuff inside and finish up the build process on these. For the standoffs, I'm not going to do anything with these. I'm just going to paint them up so that once I'm done, they'll just go on like this and I'll be able to aim them how I want. All right, now one thing I want to note is, unlike other Agora kits, the screws and stuff aren't as clearly labeled like they typically are. In this older kit, you want to make sure you're labeling your screws so you know which ones are which, especially your spares. So I've got a bunch of these little tiny containers. They work out great. I've just got some blue tape here. I just write down these are the 109-9 screws. They're a PB screw and they're 2x14 millimeters. And I just keep them in this so that I know which ones are which and I can keep track of them. All right, so I've got this one put together here. I'm just gonna put a screw in here, and I don't even want to tighten them. I just want them in there so it holds the parts together so that I can easily paint them and detail them up. All right, just like that. So I'm going to do the rest, and then we'll be able to get these ready to get painted and detailed. All right, so here are my 3 spotlights. I do need to find the pack in the box with the 4th one. I'll do that off camera. I'm going to do basically the same exact thing, but they're pre-assembled and ready to be painted. Now, I did notice on these, there's some rough edges here where the parts were originally cut off the casting sprue. I'm not going to worry about that. Some models I'd smooth that out, but since these are going to be painted up pretty rough and look really battered and rusted and all that, I'm not going to worry about those little imperfections. It'll just add to the detail. All right, so these parts are going to get painted up, and then I'll show you a little bit of detailing that I'm going to do on them to make them look old and yeah, just make them look old and beat up. All right, moving on. Okay, so I've got my base screwed together. It is a little floppy right now, especially in the middle, and that's because there's nothing else attached. The circuit board isn't attached to the back or anything, so it is a little floppy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold it from the back and squeeze it and hold the pieces as tightly together as I can and lined up as I can. I'm going to put a little super glue on there. Then I'm going to use a little kicker to make it dry really fast. And I'm just going to do that along the seams on each one of these seams until I get them as close as I can. Now, the only really seam on this that I'm worried about is this one right here, because it kind of goes right through these rocks and stuff here. So I'm going to cover a lot of that up with my extra detailing, but I want to get them as close to smooth as I can, as closely together as I can. So I'm going to start gluing these together now. Let that set a second. Okay. And that's glued together. So I'm just going to do that on the rest of these and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I've got all 4 pieces glued together and that is much more solid now. I also glued on the battery cover for the tray that holds the C-size batteries that slides in here. I glued this on because I'm not going to have batteries, so I'm not going to need it. I probably will use this area to set up and put my power in, but we'll see how that goes. Also, I think I am going to attach some of the extra rocks and stuff on the base since I'm going to be detailing around them, just to make it a little cohesive there. So moving on. Okay, since I'm going to be testing all of my electronics as I go throughout the process, normally the remote control would be assembled at one of the last stages, but I'm going to do it now so I can have it ready to go for testing my electronics. All right, so let's get this put together real quick. Okay, so first we need to take our face and just lay it down flat. Then we've got these clear pieces, and we're going to cut these off this tree and then fix them inside these little cutouts here and here. Okay, since we've got to glue these parts in, I'm going to use some of this Ultra Glue from Ammo. This stuff works really well and it dries crystal clear. Also, I've removed my soft blue mat since I'm going to be gluing. All right, so let's get the first one out here. Let's see, it's probably that bottom one. I'm going to say that one. All right, we'll test fit it first. All right, whoops. See if it fits in both. So it looks like they'll fit in either one. All right, so I'm gonna leave that there. Take that out for a second. I'm gonna get a little bit of my Ultra Glue here. This stuff is pretty strong, so it won't take much. I'm gonna go ahead and get some glue on this other piece for down here. All right, let's get this pressed in here. All right, that one's in. Now we'll do the other one. Okay, those are both glued in. Now we're going to do these two up here. All right, let's put a little glue on here. Get this one in here. And this one. Oops. In here. All right, looking good. Let's move on. Okay, next off is our buttons. So we're just going to clip these off this sprue and then we're going to set them down from this direction right on top of this piece here. Okay, this first piece, the power button, it's keyed right there. Well, so you can see it. It's keyed at the top there and it's keyed up here. So we'll just get it in like that and then we will do the rest of them. All right, all of our buttons and those clear lenses are in. We're going to set that aside now and we're going to bring this piece over and our circuit board. Now this is just going to plug into this wire here. All right, that's plugged in like that. And then we're going to turn this around and it's going to sit just like that in there. Okay, now we're going to very carefully bring this back over, and this is going to sit right down on, there's 4 posts here, right here and right here. This is just going to sit down, let me turn this so we can see it. It's going to sit right over those posts. Be careful not to get our buttons loosened up, looks good. Then this is just going to go right on top of that and sandwich everything together like so. And then we're going to use 4 of the PB 2x4mm screws to hold this unit together. Let's just get one started right here. All right, and then we'll do the rest of them. All right, just like that. Make sure all of our buttons work, and they do. Next step, we're going to put a couple of AAA batteries in there and close it up. All right, that's in there, so let's turn it on. Hey, we got lights, cool. Okay, all the buttons work. Nothing's happening, of course, because I've got nothing put together yet, but the remote is put together and it's working. All right, moving on. Okay, so now I've got my spotlights painted. I painted them in just a metallic steel color, and they came out nice. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some detailing. I'm going to make them look really rusty and beat up and stuff. But before I do that, I need to set myself a marker so that after I'm done detailing these and I take them apart to put in the LED, I want to make sure that these two pieces go together in the same place. So I just need to pick a side. So I'm going to take this side here because it's already got a little bit of a scuff there from where it was cut off the sprue. And I'm just going to take my hobby knife and just add some marks here across those two. Not too bad. And since I'm beating this up and making it look messy anyways, I don't have to worry about being neat about it. All right, so now I've got a mark, and I know that when I put these back together, I'll just line up those marks and they'll be in the same place. Okay, so on my color palette here, I've got some really dark gray, some silver, some really light, like a bluish gray, and then some earth. And I'm just going to take a piece of foam here, and I'm going to start off with my dark color. I'm just going to drop it, but I'm just going to pat it on here. I don't want to be too specific with it. I want it to look random. We're just adding some mess to it here. Like so. Then I'll take the other side of it and dab it in my light gray. I'm just gonna do the same thing. Just make some marks. It's okay if it overlaps. Okay, and then I'll take the other edge here. Actually, we'll just take this edge here and we'll grab a little of that earth color. Make sure we're getting it on the back here. All right, like that. All right, now I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and then after that, I'm going to come back with some of my exhaust pipe rust from ammo. This stuff works really good, and I'm going to kind of wash it on there a little bit and then dab it off, and hopefully the end result will make this look like a really beat up piece of steel out in the post-nuclear war scene that we're going for. All right, moving on. All right, so I've got these all mucked up here. And the cool thing about this is, you can do as much or as little as you want. If you like it, add more. If you don't, take some off, put some water on there because these are all acrylic-based paints. But as you can see, they all look pretty well beat up and weathered. And I think what I'm going to do after these dry a little bit is I'm going to come back with some silver, and I'm just going to lightly dry brush a couple areas like where they've been scuffed up a little bit. All right, moving on. All right, so I've got my brush here, and I've got some silver on it, but I've been tapping it on a paper towel, and I'm taking a lot of it off, even though there's still some on there, which is okay. I'm just going to touch it in a couple areas just to give it another level of highlight. And that looks good on that one. We'll do this one. Just do around this edge here. And I'm just kind of patting them on here, letting the brush make the random patterns. All right. And that looks good. Okay, now I've got some really thin down rust here. And I'm just going to find my mark. There's my mark. And then I'm just going to dab it in there and just let it run down along the edges there. like that. And do a little on the back here. Again, there's no real right or wrong way to do it. You just want to dab it on where it looks natural, and if you like it, then that's good. All right, there's that rust. And I'll take a little my paper towel here and I'll just kind of dab it. And I'm going to let the stuff in the cracks and crevices stay. So that'll give it a nice, when it dries, a nice uniformed look there where it's been rusting around the edges. And then once this is dry, I'll shoot it all in a matte clear. And so it'll take all the shine off, and then they'll be good to go. Okay, I've got all my spotlights weathered up and they look really cool. So now I'm going to take these apart and install the LEDs and the lenses and then put them all together, and then we'll test them. All right, we'll take our first one here. We'll break it apart and make sure we can see our little mark there. Then we're going to take our LED. We're going to run that wire through the back there. Pull it in. Just like that. And on this side, we're going to set it in here like so. We'll feed this back through. Make sure my mark is there. Where'd my mark go? All right, my mark's lined up. And we'll put the screws back in. And like before, I only put 2 screws in, but this time we're going to put all 4 screws in, because hopefully we will not be taking these apart again. All right, there's one. Now, got our lens here. We're just going to put that in here, and it just press fits right into that little ridge there. Okay, now we'll connect our standoff. All right, next we're going to put this wire through here. Okay, so once you have your wire going through your post, you want to make sure these are flat, because from what it looks like, these just go right over there. And you also want to make sure that your wires are not in your hole there. Otherwise, you're going to end up putting a screw through one of those wires, and then this will not work. Okay, so now let's get our screw in there. Oops, that's the side with the nut. Let's put it through this way. Give it a little turn. Okay, oops. All right, there's our screw going through. We'll put our nut on the end. Hold that in place. Tighten up the screw a little bit. All right, and there's our first spotlight done, and I'm going to do the rest of them real quick. All right, I've got my spotlights all weathered and put on the board. They're just sitting in here. I'm going to remove them when I do the rest of the base, but I just wanted to get an idea of how they look, and I think they look really cool. Once again, I do like the color and how they did the base on this. Like I said, also, I am going to add some more detail to it, some texture to it. Going to put some sand and gravel kind of on here and kind of the bare spots, and then just weather it up a little more and just enhance it. But for now, I think this looks really good. So I think we're going to stop this episode here. We did get everything glued together. The rocks are, a couple of rocks are on. I left some of the other parts off because I don't want them in the way when I'm washing and weathering everything up. But yeah, I'm making good progress on this T-800 build. So I hope you're all enjoying this new series. I know I'm enjoying building this. This is going to be an awesome build. So far, it's just been real fun, and I'm looking forward to the rest of it. If you want to get one of these for yourself, there's a QR code somewhere on the screen here you can scan that'll take you to the Agora website where you can pick one up for your own. And once again, if you wouldn't mind clicking that subscribe button down below, I really appreciate it, and it helps out the channel. And if you're enjoying this series, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have any questions or comments, please use the comment section below. I love hearing from everyone. Have you built this kit? Are you looking forward to building this kit? I want to know. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll help out and get back to you as soon as I can. But until then, that's a wrap on episode 1. Looking forward to episode 2, where we're going to do a lot more on the base. We're going to get a lot more added, and then we'll start on the actual endoskeleton itself. So until next time, friends, everyone just be safe out there and go build something.